Hello there everyone, and welcome to another edition of Lydia's Crafty Corner with me, Lydia, in my little crafty corner. So today I'm going to be sharing with you these two cards. They use a ink blackout technique. It is an oldie technique, but I still think it's a goodie, and it can be used in various different ways, not just with the black. So to start with, I am going to be using a panel of white cardstock, and this is the rainbow one I'm going to start with, and I'm going to just add an ink blended rainbow onto this panel. So to start with, I'm going to be using one of my favorite reds, which is the ruby red. This is my go-to combo for anything rainbow. So this one was ruby red. I'm then going to go into my orange, which is the orange cream ink. So I'm just going to add this on. I am using a makeup foundation brush to add my inks to my panel, and I do find that this works really, really well. So after I've finished with my orange, I'm then going to move on to my yellow, as in any rainbow, and this one is the warm sunshine ink. Once I have finished with this one, I'm then going to move on to my green, which I am using Parrot. I do love this limey green ink, and I think that it's a great one to add for my rainbow. So I'm just going to add this one in till I'm happy with the blended effect there. And I'm then going to move on to my blue. So, okay, you got me. It's not entirely blue. It is the Lagoon ink from Altenew, but it is my favorite color, so I've kind of swapped this out for a blue. I'm then going to add a little bit of purple just to the top. So this is the deep iris that I'm adding on top of the ruby red. So that one's that panel complete. I'm then going to move on to my second. So again, I'm using some white cardstock, and I'm going to add in a blended ombre effect on this one. So I started with the teal cave. I'm then going to move on to my Lagoon ink, which again is my favorite. I can't help but use it. I'm then going to move on to some beautiful Volcano Lake, and then to finish this one off, I am going to be using the Mountain Mist ink on the bottom. So if you don't find that your blending is getting up to scratch, maybe just go over it again, and it's then going to make it perfect. I have then let my panels dry completely before I move on to the stamping. I'm using one of the beautiful images from Weekend Doodles stamp set. I'm going to ink this up using some embossing ink and then stamp it into place. Once it has been stamped into place, I'm then going to add on some crystal clear embossing powder. You can add whatever you want on, but I do find that using the clear works really, really well for this. We will be taking it off later on, so it doesn't matter which one you do use, but I do find that the clear works better. As you can see, I have added a little bit of baby powder on before doing my second stamping, because I don't want any of this embossing powder to stick where I don't want it. Once I have stamped the first and the second, I'm just going to keep going until I've completely covered this beautiful rainbow panel in these beautiful branches from the Weekend Doodles stamp set. So again, I'm just using the embossing ink to stamp it into place in like kind of a jigsaw, and just going one next to the other just until my whole panel is covered. And I'm just going to keep using the crystal clear embossing powder to heat set them. So this is going to work as a resist later on. So I do love the fact that they just fit in perfectly as well. These stamps were made to make backgrounds like this, I believe. So once I have finished the whole of it, I do go around the edges just to make sure that there's enough images popping off the edge of my panel. Once I finished with my rainbow panel, I'm then going to move on to my beautiful tealy ombre panel. Again, I'm just going to do exactly the same as before. I've added some baby powder down so that the embossing powder doesn't stick where I don't want it to. Then I'm stamping using the embossing ink, and then heat setting it using some crystal clear embossing powder. And you can see that halfway through, I do add a little bit more baby powder just to make sure that my little sticky hands don't leave any fingerprints on my little panel, because that's one that I normally do with the embossing ink. So it's really a great way just to get away that stick, is just to add a little bit of baby powder down, use a little bit of a dry paintbrush to move it around, and that's going to get away any static that is left on that panel. So once I have completely done this one, I'm then going to move back on to my rainbow panel. This time I'm going to go in with some jet black ink, and I'm using a normal blending tool for this because I do find that it adds a lot more ink down, and that's what I want. I kind of want an opaque ink on this one. So as you can see, the embossing that we've just done is resisting this black ink that we're adding down, and you can see that beautiful rainbow effect popping through underneath from the flowers, which I do think is very, very pretty. So for this one, I decided not to go for black. I wanted more of a tone on tone, and this time I'm using the Galactic stream. As before, I'm using a blending tool just to add more ink down onto this panel, and as you can see, the embossing is resisting this one too, and you can see how beautiful that is. I do find that the lighter the ink on this one pops more because we're just doing a tone on tone, so it gives more of a contrast with the lighter ink rather than the darker one at the top of the panel. So once I have done that and it's all lovely and complete, I'm then going to add a little bit of ironing to this. So I'm going to pop my panel down, I'm going to add some scratch paper on top, and I'm using a dry hot iron over the top. Now the embossing powder is going to stick onto this scratch paper, so you're going to be able to remove it from the panel that we've just done to leave it beautifully nice and flat and matte. So if you did use a different coloured embossing powder, this will take that off. But I do find that the translucent clear embossing powder does work better, just in case you do leave any behind. As you can see, I've used it again, just on a different spare bit of the scratch paper to see if I've removed it all, and it's all beautifully done there. I just love this panel. I'm going to do exactly the same for the one that we've done with the tone on tone. So again, I'm just adding the scratch paper over the top, ironing over it until the embossing powder sticks to the scratch paper, and then I'm going to remove the scratch paper. And there are the cards complete. All I've done to finish them off is to add them onto a card base at a slight angle and added a sentiment to each of them. I love how these look. I love this rainbow one, and I also love the tone on tone. I love that you can get two different effects using the same technique, but just changing out the colours of the ink that you do use for the blackout and the colours underneath. So I really do hope that you've enjoyed the video and that you like the technique. If you do create any projects using this technique, it would be great if you do share, because I'd love to check them out. Again, thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you do want to watch any more videos, there's a couple more here to watch at your own leisure. Also, if you don't want to miss out on any videos that we do upload to the channel, it'd be great if you do subscribe. Again, thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I will see you again really, really soon. Bye-bye.